Hi everyone, welcome back to Cheese and Turtles. My name's Imogen. In today's video, I'm talking about how to use your flaws to your advantage. We all have them, okay? I have flaws. I'm going to talk about them in a minute. But if you're not already subscribed, be sure to do that. Give this video a thumbs up. Follow me on Instagram and let's get started. So, like I mentioned, we all have flaws, and to deny that we have flaws is to honestly just lie, because we all have flaws. And if you say you don't have flaws, you're either not self-aware enough or you're just lying. I'm sorry. I have flaws. For example, I am extremely obsessive. I can get very overthinky. I have multiple chronic mental illnesses, which again, it's not a moral failing. It's just, you know, something that affects me in a negative way. When I say flaws, I don't necessarily mean like something that makes you a bad person. I just mean something that makes your life harder, okay? Or a personality trait that you want to work on, because flaws, they can come from multiple angles. So obviously, like, me having depression is just a fact. Like, it's a thing I have. But for example, my obsessive nature is something that I can work on to an extent. Okay, so I did a video a while back about like all my red flags, so you can go and watch that if you're entertained by me talking about all my flaws. But anyway, I have flaws, so being aware of those and you being aware of your flaws as well is kind of essential to personal growth, because if you think that you're perfect, there's no point. Like, you might as well just click off this channel and leave the videos and stop watching, because there's no point in personal growth if you don't have a place to grow from, okay? So if you're already perfect, then this video is not for you. But if you are a human being, then you are not perfect, okay? So, how do we use our flaws to our advantage? The first thing that I want to talk about, and I kind of already just mentioned it, is use them as pointers for your personal growth, okay? These are areas which you need to work on. You can think of them as like helpful little notifications. You know, like, I hate to be that Duolingo person, but I do have like a 400+ day streak at the moment. So I'm going to be that Duolingo person. You know, when you have a little notification on Duolingo being like, can you do your lesson today? That's helpful, right? Or at least I find it helpful. I know the owl is terrifying. The owl is gonna come after you if you don't do your lessons. This is not sponsored in any way, but you can use them as pointers for personal growth. Like, if I didn't have Duolingo notifications, I would forget. Like, that is one of the only notifications I actually have turned on my phone, because I generally live my life in do not disturb. But yes, I kept my Duolingo streak because learning languages is something that's important to me. And sure, it's like at a very basic level, but at least I'm doing something, I guess. But anyway, use your flaws as pointers for personal growth. They're like notifications which are like, hey, this is something you could work on. So another flaw that I was aware of was that I wasn't healthy. Okay, I wasn't looking after myself. So that was a wake-up call to be like, hey, you need to eat better. You need to make sure that you're like meeting your nutritional needs. You need to start moving more. You need to drink more water. You need to sleep better. You need to take better care of yourself, okay? So use them as pointers for personal growth. Another thing that you can use your flaws for is motivation to be better, okay? So I always felt, you know, and I'm not necessarily saying that you're a bad person for having flaws. No, literally everyone has them. But you can use them as motivation to be better, because whenever I look at my flaws, I don't think to myself, oh, you're a terrible person. I mean, sometimes I do, because I have like issues and I work on them in therapy. But sometimes I think, you know, this is not the person that I want to be, okay? This is someone who is trying her best, but who could be better. And that gives me motivation to work on myself every single day, because I see these flaws and I think, you know, with enough hard work, I could get over these, okay? And that's motivating to me. So you can use them as motivation to be better. You can also use your flaws as a way to meet people. So, for example, very simply, when you go to a class to get better at something, you make friends, okay? Another of my flaws is that well, it's not a flaw, again, like, it's just I don't know, calling it a flaw is, I have a tendency to just not talk to anyone. Like, it's introversion, but taken to an extreme. And I'm aware that that is a flaw because it's important to have some form of social interaction. So I started pushing myself to go outside of my comfort zone a lot with travel and solo traveling, and I've met a lot of people solo traveling. And another way that I push myself outside of my comfort zone is going to gigs. Like, that's a very extroverted environment, but I love the music, so I go and I meet people, okay? And they're a way to meet people. So also, you want more friends, you want to learn how to socialize, you want to be better at like talking to people. I do not claim to be an expert at talking to people at all. I can be very, very socially awkward, and that has caused me many problems, but I'm working on it. And it's a way to meet people. If you like, genuinely, if you're working on something and you find other people who are working on something, like, having a shared project is a bonding experience, okay? So you can actually use your flaws as a way to meet people and give yourself permission to kind of just be bad at it for a while, because there is nothing more fun or more fulfilling than being bad at something alongside someone who is also being bad at something and bonding over getting better at that thing, okay? Like, genuinely, it's a way to meet people. Use them to help guide you in finding your purpose, okay? So a lot of the time my flaws have been indicators as to what kind of person I wanted to be, because flaws are very subjective, okay? So when you look at your life and you think, oh, these are my flaws, that's your opinion, okay? Someone else might look at your life and be like, oh, those are your flaws, but it's a different set of things. So what you consider to be your flaws is actually very telling, because those things are where you see yourself as being like deficient in something. And the things that you see yourself as being deficient in are things that you need to work on in order to become your ideal self. So really, your flaws are not your flaws. Your flaws are not objective. They're more of a, these are the things that I'm missing in order to become the perfect version of myself, okay? Perfect is maybe a bit of a strong word. The best version of myself, okay? So you can actually understand by looking at your flaws the ideal person that you consider yourself to be. Like, you can find your purpose by looking at your flaws, if that makes sense. They can also make for an interesting personality, okay? Like I said, not all flaws are bad. Like, you know, obviously I do not enjoy having depression. I do not enjoy, having anxiety. But the fact that I do have depression, I do have anxiety, has actually given me the necessary experience to be able to help other people who have depression and have anxiety. It's been giving me the necessary experience to help other people out in like mental health crises, or just help understand people better when they're having some kind of emotional breakdown, okay? And that is a component of my personality. Like, I have the experience that's necessary in order to be able to recognize when someone's struggling mentally, not all the time, but some of the time. And, you know, my experience is limited, but it is a part of my personality that is positive and that came from a negative place, but actually became something positive. So they can make for an interesting personality, okay? And I'm not necessarily saying that it's a good thing, and if I could choose to not have depression, not have anxiety, I would choose to not have depression or anxiety. But since we are where we are, you know? The next point is kind of part 2 of this point. Use them to empathize with other people, okay? So I mentioned, you know, I have depression, anxiety, and I have a lot of empathy for other people with mental health struggles, not just depression or anxiety. And obviously you don't have to have something to have empathy with a person with that thing, but it's given me a lot of empathy with other people with like just flaws in general. Like, sure, I might not have the same flaws that another person does, but I have flaws that they don't have, okay? So we all have flaws. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, we are all absolutely human. And, you know, we have flaws. And once you recognize your own flaws, even if they're not the same as someone else's flaws, then you can just empathize with other people, because we are all in this together, okay? Everyone on this channel, including me, is just here for self-improvement. We are trying to be the best people that we can be, okay? So empathize with other people and understand that you're not perfect, and neither is that other person, okay? And that is okay, because we are all doing our best. And finally, see the positive side of your flaws. Sometimes, like I mentioned, there can be positives, okay? Sometimes your flaws could be 2 sides of the same coin. Like I mentioned, I'm extremely obsessive, okay? But that means that I'm also very thoughtful and resourceful, and I'm a really good planner, okay? So there are positives to your flaws. And, you know, another flaw that I have is that I am, what else? What other flaws do I have? I'm very like, I can be very like, how do I describe this? Like, tenacious, but to the point of, like, I'm stubborn. Stubborn is the word I was looking for. How did it take me that long to think of that word? Stubborn. I am extremely stubborn. I am way too stubborn, okay? But I'm also persevering. I'm determined. I don't easily give up. So you can see how this can be reframed in a positive light. And I'm not saying that I don't work on my stubbornness, because I do. And I'm aware that in some situations, it can be a bad thing. but it can also be a good thing because it means that sometimes I'm just really fucking determined. So see the positive side of your flaws if you can, and try and emphasize that positive side in your personal growth, in your self-development, because those are weaknesses, but they can also be strengths. So that's how to use your flaws to your advantage. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to do that. Give this video a thumbs up. Follow me on Instagram. I will see you guys next time. All right, bye.